Pure evil and broken heroes are two popular categories for antagonists. But what if I told you that broken heroes is an incorrect term? That it's not just the world's fault that some people didn't become heroes, in part it's also their own failure, which is why failed heroes is a more accurate term. This video will offend existing assumptions, therefore please watch it until the end. Broken heroes refers to people who originally had a good heart. They were caring, loving and optimistic personalities and wanted to have a positive impact on the world. But then something very traumatic happened. In the blink of an eye, they were confronted with the ugliest and most reckless side of reality. The good personality was reshaped and an evil antagonist was born. The problem with the term broken hero is that it places the blame solely on the antagonist's circumstances for straying from his path. But a significant part of the truth is that their will to be a hero wasn't strong enough to prevail reality. It becomes clearer when you ask yourself what exactly distinguishes a successful hero from a failed one. To give an explicit example, what differentiates Naruto from Obito? Kid Obito is an almost one-on-one replica of Kid Naruto. Both of them were orphans. At first, both of them lagged behind their rival. Both of them were joyful, optimistic personalities, and both of them wanted to become Hokage. Life wasn't easy on either of them. But in terms of traumatic experiences, I would say that Naruto had a more difficult start in life than Obito. Naruto wasn't just an orphan. In addition, he was socially excluded by everyone. He had no loving caretaker and no friends. The world provided many reasons for Naruto to become a villain too. No one can argue that his circumstances couldn't have broken him. And still, he didn't become evil. He was able to overcome his depressing circumstances with a strong belief in himself and his values. That is the key difference to Obito. Obito wasn't as strong as Naruto. He couldn't overcome the experience of Rin's death. Broken hero implies that the world didn't live up to the failed heroes, which is why they became evil. But in reality, it's the other way around. You have to live up to the world. No one claims that Naruto or Kakashi became a hero because the world was kind to them. It was undoubtedly their own will which overcame the circumstances. Therefore, I don't understand how people can fully blame the circumstances of Obito, Nagato and Madara for the decisions they made. It's true that they all had traumatic encounters. Especially Nagato had an incredibly tragic past. But does that justify to blame the world for becoming what you hated the most? What differentiates a successful hero from a failed one aren't the circumstances. Life has provided both with a roughly similar number of reasons to turn evil. What differentiates them is their own will to be a hero. I partly discussed it in my last video about Kakashi. Everything I said about Naruto can also be applied to Kakashi. He is also a successful hero and he had many reasons to escape from reality. Suguru Geto and Itadori Yuji are also a good example to illustrate the difference. At the beginning, Geto was a moral person. He was convinced that strong people had to protect the weak. But we know what happened then. Now, was it Toji's fault that Geto had to reconsider his values and in general his worldviews? Yes, absolutely. Toji was a reality check for Geto. He easily humiliated him and brought him down to earth. But was it Toji's fault that Geto became obsessed with a sorcerer-exclusive world? No, it was his own conclusion stemming from his inability to come in terms with his own powerlessness. Geto searched for a scapegoat to not wrestle with his feelings of inferiority. He rationalized his way out by blaming non-sorcerers. The very same people he had wanted to protect before, when he still believed he was the strongest. Geto became a mass murderer not because Toji low-diffed him, but because he was unable to bear the burden of what it means to protect the weak even if you lose. Yuji is exponentially more committed to the same values Geto once had. Yuji wasn't the strongest, and he had a lot more Toji vs Geto moments. His parents weren't there for him, his grandfather died, he became a vessel of the deadliest sorcerer in history, who took him hostage. Sukuna also got control in Shibuya and was responsible for countless deaths. Nanami died, Nobara died, and still, Yuji stood his ground. He wanted to give up at some point, but he never became evil. Even at his lowest, he remained committed to his values. Sukuna was to Yuji what Toji was to Geto, only like a million times worse. And what set Yuji apart from Geto was his determination to stay true to his values. So I don't want to seem unempathetic. The traumatic events surrounding Nagato, Obito, Madara and Geto were horrible. And just because Yuji, Naruto and Kakashi had similar experiences and remained good doesn't automatically mean that it applies to everyone. I know that experiencing something like that can completely shatter you. Nevertheless, it's always your own decision which attitudes you keep. Characters like Yuji, Naruto, Kakashi, Guts, and so on show that you can fight back against what happens to you, and that you don't have to let it completely shape you. It's hard to remain hopeful after witnessing the ugliest side of life, but I think it's the test of God. Wrestling with despair and still being optimistic for the future, trying to work towards something good by staying moral in the face of reality, is the DNA of a hero. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." As always, thank you for watching the video. I think this video was kinda provocative, so please let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And yeah, feel free to check out my other videos, more content on the way, so stay tuned. And hopefully, see you soon.